Hello and welcome to Vergecast, the flagship podcast of Saturday Samsung. The show where Samsung executives who have been forced to work 6 days a week until they make more money just have ideas. I'm your friend Nilay. David and Alex are both on vacation, which I feel is very rude. Liam, also on vacation. So this is just going to be a wild episode. Allison Johnson's here. Hi, Allison.
Hello.
V Song is here. Hey, V.
Hello, let's do chaos.
We've just been left to our own devices. I'm like helpless without Liam and David and Alex on the show at this point.
Anything could happen.
I haven't been left to my own devices to run a Vergecast in years. For good reason, I think. So we're just going to see what happens. Thank you, too, for joining me.
We're here for the ride.
I'm here for Saturday Samsung. As the local Korean gadget reviewer on staff, I am so here for Saturday Samsung.
We're going to get to what the Saturday Samsung is. This, I would say, up until now, it's been stuff. Samsung will give you a free TV if you buy a TV. Is a real idea generated by Saturday Samsung. This week's is, I think, bananas in a different way, but we'll come to it. There's a bunch of other stuff going on. The iOS 18.1 developer beta with Apple Intelligence. Some Apple Intelligence features hit. Allison, you played with that. V, you reviewed the Galaxy Watch Ultra, or as I call it, the Apple Watch Ultra. There's some other gadget news. There's a Pixel 9 event coming up. We caused an entire furious news cycle about subscription mice. I'm sorry. And then because we have been left to our devices, I am trying a new style of lightning round. Still unsponsored. But it's,
Get on it,
David and Liam are not around to put me in a box. So we're gonna try something new.
Chaos.
It's chaos. I want to start
round.
with we should just call it the chaos round. Although
I think so.
One of the topics is a little serious, so I don't know if we'll get there. We're gonna get there. We're doing it live, everybody. Let's start with, there's big news in the week just outside of tech. It's the Olympics. It feels like the experience of consuming the Olympics is very different this year than in years past. Mm-hmm. Every other year we run a story that's like, streaming the Olympics sucks. We haven't really had to run that story this year.
Because it's on TikTok, baby. I have not streamed a single second of the Olympics. I'm telling you, I have not streamed a single second of the Olympics. Normally, I'm all over the gymnastics, but everything I know about the Olympics has just come through doom scrolling my TikTok feed and just going like, oh, actually, that's kind of really wholesome. I really love Chocolate Muffin Guy. And
yeah.
I can't remember his
she
name.
was explaining Chocolate Muffin Guy. This is a foreign concept to me.
It's just this Norwegian athlete who has discovered the chocolate muffin from the Olympic Village cafeteria, and he gets increasingly weird with this chocolate muffin. It just like appears in his bedroom, and he's in a thong, and you're like, "What is happening?" But
that's what I'm missing. Okay,
he really loves this
France.
chocolate muffin.
We know what's happening.
That's true.
Doom scrolling TikTok is a weird way to feel about America right now. This is hard to know how much American pride you have depending on what TikTok scroll you're in. Like at this moment, it's like, I have immense pride in our gymnasts who've crushed it once again. Oh no, he's talking again. I have immense pride in this. It's what is happening. That's a lot. We have an entire story about the Olympics and TikTok. Mia wrote it. I actually wanted the title to be the Influencer Olympics. But I think that's what people think that's Coachella. So,
both
but
are
it is
fair.
true. Yeah, I thought it was good fun. But it is true that the athletes are young, by and large, very young, except for the 51-year-old Turkish man who got a silver medal in shooting with no equipment whatsoever. Great photo. But it's true that the athletes are, by and large, very young. The U.S. women's gymnastic team, literally after winning gold, was caught on camera talking about what TikTok they wanted to make.
Oh, yeah.
Which is incredible. Aww. And so you just have this like very native population to this format in this platform in particular. And then there's just the universe of piracy that happens on TikTok. Like if you want to watch clips of cool sporting events, the TikTok community has you covered, and TikTok's lawyers also apparently have you covered because they don't seem to care about it. And that's like one really interesting way of consuming this, right? You're getting kind of the raw feed by people who are on the ground, who speak in the language of video, speak in the language of social video. And then you're getting a bunch of clips of cool stuff curated by a community that does not care about NBC's exclusive rights to stream the Olympics on Peacock.
is the commentary on TikTok is much funnier because you just have people filming their screen while they're watching it, like the men's gymnast, pommel horse guy. I don't know any of these athletes' names. I know them by their memes on TikTok, but just like I was watching these two women watching pommel horse guy, and they're like, yes, Peter Parker, yes, you better work, you better work. And just having this very sassy commentary about this man doing the pommel horse. And I was just like, I'm watching them watch their TV screen, and they're just better than like the NBC commentary people who are just like, oh yes, he's on the pommel horse and he did the skill.
So serious.
USA. So serious. It's like watching it with your friends, except my husband doesn't give a crap about the Olympics. So I'm just
same.
like, oh, yeah, pommel horse guy, you can get it. Clark Kent of pommel horse.
So I often say that almost every experience I have with TikTok should be a PhD in media studies. What you are describing is a PhD in media studies, right? Like the layers of abstraction away from the thing itself happening, and then the entertainment that random strangers on the internet are providing you, all of that is just very different. And it feels new this time in a way that 2 years ago, I guess 3 years ago, at the last Olympics, was it 2 years ago or 3 years ago? The last Olympics were supposed to be...
They were in 2021 because of, COVID.
Events. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why the Olympics just has always felt to me like this big, serious, important thing. And like, that's kind of part of the appeal. But there's something great about like, having it kind of distributed among from people on the ground and having more fun with it. Like it doesn't have to be this like big booming voice of like NBC will deliver you the Olympics and that is how you will watch them.
Right. If you put 18,000 teenagers in the middle of France with cell phones, like something funny is going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. That's it. That seems correct.
You just learn more about different sports because I don't care about rugby. I love Alona Mar. She's hilarious on TikTok. She's just all over. My entire feed yesterday was just lesbians crying that Alona Mar was not a lesbian because they were just like in love with the women's rugby team. And I was like,
and that'll be it for the Chaos Vergecast, everybody. We're going to end it here. But that, right? The idea that different communities, different groups can view the thing together in a different way as a community is new. Like that just is a new thing that even like sports Twitter doesn't accomplish, right? Mm-hmm. It's the native video communication ability of particularly the younger generation that like is interesting and new. And that's one thing that's different about these Olympics. The other thing that's different is that actually NBC and Peacock are doing a good job. I must disclose that NBC is a minority investor in Vox Media, our parent company. They are owned by Comcast. I've rarely said anything good about Comcast, so I must disclose I'm saying something nice about Comcast and NBC. That's the first time, I believe, in history that has happened. But they are doing a good job. It is actually like refreshing and interesting to see a big legacy broadcaster just go for it with their app. And it's not to say there's not problems. There are random ad breaks in the middle of stuff. There's infinite complaints about just how overwhelming it is. But it's like they had every idea and executed every idea. So if you want to just watch highlights of the sports, you can just watch highlights of the sports. If you want to watch the traditional gauzy 1980s style primetime broadcast with completely unnecessary human interest interludes about how the gymnasts grew up knowing they would be gymnasts, those stories are always the same. It's like when they were 4, they were like, I'm going to jump on stuff. Every 4 years, you can get that story from NBC if you want. But that's available to you. They have the Gold Zone, which is basically NFL Red Zone for the Olympics, that they're doing 10 hours a day. And inside of the app, when you're watching stuff, you can just be like, I just want to keep watching this thing that we're whipping around to, which is fascinating. They have multi-view, which is the more standard, just like here's 4 feeds at once. They have Al Michaels doing AI-powered highlights that you can just listen to.
Oh, okay.
Which is super weird. Like, it's just weird to have robot Al Michaels being like, the gymnast jumped over stuff again. But it's like all the ideas. I had someone in my mentions, because I was posting on Threads, and they're like, all of this is stuff that a normal company would like de-scope to hit the deadline. And NBC just like did it all. And then on top of it, they're like, all of it's like pretty good. Like Gold Zone is actually really funny. There's like very funny NFL trauma inside of Gold Zone. So, there's Red Zone where you like whip around all the games on Sundays. And there used to be 2 Red Zones. There was the one on DirecTV and there was the one that the NFL did. Google bought the rights to Sunday Ticket. They took the NFL Red Zone and they shut down the DirecTV Red Zone. So Scott Hansen, who does the NFL Red Zone, is like going to do it with Google now. NBC realized they can't just have Scott Hansen 10 hours a day, 16 days in a row. So they hire Scott Hansen and the guy who used to do the DirecTV Red Zone to do Gold Zone. So they're like back together, not as rivals, but as friends. It's just like
this is
hilarious that they did
This is a PhD.
Right?
This is a PhD.
But they had to do it. Like somebody at NBC had to be like, all right, let's do a Red Zone for Olympics. How will we do that? We should just get all the Red Zone guys.
Yeah.
And go get some contracts together, make it happen. And it all is kind of working. Like it's working better than if I suggested to you NBC was going to make an app full of Olympics content. Your expectations would be very low. And I was like, and it's called Peacock. But they're doing good.
I love that. I'm an Olympics lover.
Yeah.
I love that.
Are you watching on Peacock or are you like full TikTok?
So I have to put an asterisk that I'm a Winter Olympics girl, and I don't know what it is this year, but I've been shouted down by the Summer Olympics people about how the Winter Olympics is not the real Olympics, and I think I just got tired of it. So I've kind of been missing out on this year's games.
You can't. There's Snoop Dogg. In between everything, NBC
and
made the genius decision to have Snoop Dogg and Flava Flav here. I'm like,
this is what I mean by NBC just went someone at NBC was like, is there a Snoop Dogg budget? And they're like, yes. In addition to that, there's Flava Flav budget. They just went for it. It's great. You should click around on Peacock. It's actually fairly entertaining just as a tech experience to be like, oh, they tried this out. What if this was all happening? You can kind of see there's news this week that Venue Sports, which is the big mashup of Disney and Fox and everything, ESPN, they're going to price it $43 a month, which is crazy. And it's what would you get
Peloton
for that?
Money.
Yeah, only you sit around. So it actually might be worth $50 a month. But it's kind of oh, this is the bar. If you want to be anywhere close to that much money, you've got to deliver a user experience that is at least this good. Because if it's just a minimum viable product list of things, no one's going to pay the money. All right, so that's the Olympics. It's going on. I'm curious how people are watching it. Send us a note. There's more time left in it. One thing I'll say is it doesn't seem like the action is on Twitter the way it is with other live sports. It is on TikTok, and there's something happening there that I think is just fascinating. All right, we should talk about iOS 18. Allison, you played with iOS 18.1, which is the developer beta, not the public beta yet, but I think that is getting pretty blurry in that everyone is playing with it. I mean, no one was going to stay away from Apple Intelligence, but you played with it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think my kind of big takeaway is you get the visuals of the new Siri, the glowing border, and you can type to talk to Siri. And there's a couple things that are new about Siri that it follows context better, between questions, which Google Assistant has been doing for a little while now. But so that's kind of setting the stage. And there's these other little things throughout the UI that are when and if it all gets put together, that could be really cool. But right now it's just kind of Siri lights up, and then you can rewrite an email and you'll get email summaries in your inbox. And it was just especially funny, when you open the mail app, instead of the each email has the first couple lines of the actual email copy, there's just a little summary now. And that makes a lot of sense for a long email, but most of my emails are garbage, promo stuff. So it just summarizes the promotional stuff, and it's lunch boxes ship free. And I'm didn't need a summary of that, but thank you.
That is very much what's happening with Grok and trending topics on Twitter now.
Oh, no.
Where the AI just doesn't know that some things are jokes. And so the trending topics are when I turn black in relation to people tweeting about Trump talking about Kamala Harris. And it's no, that's not right. That's not what people mean. That's just a joke.
Yeah, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI is just so sincere about stuff that it just it's funny. we have to laugh about it, I guess.
So are those the only features that are out yet? It's the summarizing emails and rewriting.
Summarizing.
I've seen a lot of pictures of people intentionally writing very mean notes and trying to get the AI to make them nicer, which is fascinating.
Oh, the one I did, at the end of Willy Wonka, when Gene Wilder does that like fizzy lifting drink thing, like, you stole fizzy lifting drink.
Yeah.
I put that into a note and had it rewrite it like friendly. And it was like, hey, just so you know, you can't be stealing fizzy lifting drinks. So that's as far as I got with that. Very amusing to me personally. Yeah, there's little bits and bobs here and there that are escaping me at the moment. It's in the emails. No, photos. In the Photos app, you can use like natural language search. So you can be like, you could search for like food before or someone that you've tagged in your photos. But you can be like, this person wearing glasses or food we ate in Iceland. And it's like pretty good. And it comes up with that stuff. So just getting a step closer to like, I just search for my license plate because I can never remember.
So like I have this one picture of a chicken that I saw while walking down a street in Brooklyn. So would I just be able, and I can never no one believes me when I tell them I ran into a chicken on a sidewalk in Brooklyn.
I don't believe you now.
And I only have
see it.
one photo of it. So would I be able to go to like the Photos app and be like, find me the photo of the chicken walking on a sidewalk in Brooklyn with my foot in there?
I think that's the most important use case of AI, at all.
Or it will just generate that photo for you and you'll be able
you
to
could
lie
put
to
a
us.
chicken on the sidewalk and then tell people that you saw it and be a liar.
So when we saw at WWDC of iOS 18 was AI everywhere, in every app, in every corner. It's just going to make the phone better. And then that was like one set of ideas. And then the other idea was, and then Siri will become your all-knowing assistant. Is that the experience of 18.1 in the beta right now?
Not yet. It's like, it's just little Easter eggs kind of throughout. And then the thing that is missing from Siri is like the big stuff where it's like it'll understand the intelligence in the AI, I think. Yeah. It'll understand what's on your screen and you can ask for it. You can be like, email this photo to my mom and it'll just go do it for you. Like that is the stuff that's coming. And then the third party app stuff, because developers are going to be able to hook into it and let you do Siri stuff in their apps. And that's the AI dream on our phones. And that's still it's coming because people have to develop it.
But they changed the user experience of Siri, right? So now when you open it, it flashes the thing. You can type to it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you double
You've
tap.
always been able to.
I learned this and I didn't know it. How do you do this?
Oh, it's an accessibility feature where you can type to Siri, so you can do it even if you don't have the beta. I just think it looks a lot prettier in the beta because this is another example of them going like, oh, accessibility features. Actually, they work for everybody. Why don't we just shine them up and make them useful?
Right. Make it glow.
It is actually really interesting how many accessibility features have just made their way into the main Apple operating systems. Yeah, Pinchy Pinch. There's other ones. But type to Siri is the big one with 18.1 because it's the thing that takes Siri from being timers and music player to chatbot to assistant to intelligent agent that is taking action across all of your apps. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they've added the stuff, but they haven't added any of the back end to make it go yet.
Yeah, I'm asking it questions and it's still just Googling stuff for me. I'm like, okay. Well, I could have typed this into a Google search bar instead of a Siri text box. But
and then it seems they've added AI call recording and transcription, which is the feature that I want the most.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because if you're a reporter, not because I'm constantly spying on everyone. I'm Richard Nixon, everyone. I'm constantly recording everyone. No, I mean, we're reporters, and AI call recording and transcription are legitimately useful in our jobs. And we've just been doing either people are using their Android phones in our office, which lots of people do, or there's a set of weird third-party stuff. But being able to just use my iPhone, which is my main phone, would be really great. Mm-hmm. So that's here now. Has it worked yet? Have you tried it out?
I have not, because I didn't put my SIM card in that phone because of eSIM, because of nightmares. But I did try out. So like the voice memos app will do transcriptions now. And that's not an Apple Intelligence feature. Like the recording a call, I think is Apple Intelligence. Could be wrong. But the transcription is good. Like I am a Pixel recorder stan. I always have a Pixel phone at a press event, like it is just in my bag. And I put it next to the iPhone and it was really good. It was like up there with the Pixel. So I am personally excited about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the one. It's always a grab bag of which feature is the one that hits. And I just know that feature for at least our little community of reporters is going to hit the hardest.
They're going to love it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Can't wait to cancel my Otter subscription.
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, like, talk about startups getting wiped out. There's like 2 or 3 that are going to go away as soon as this hits. It seems like the rest of the features are not coming for a while, right? Like Mark Gurman at Bloomberg said some of these might not come until late 25 or even 26.
Yeah, I think the last thing, I'm so confused on the timeline, but the last thing I read, I think, was that like they would all come to developer betas by the end of the year. But then as far as like being in the public beta, that's 2025. Yeah, it's just a really long, staggered kind of rollout, it sounds like.
And that kind of makes sense. Like the danger with the Siri that can do stuff on your behalf is quite high. And you have to make sure it works. We're also just not sure how any of the Apple private cloud stuff is going to work. Like right now, is it clear that all the stuff is happening on the phone or in the cloud or where? Or is it we know it's all happening on the phone?
So there's a like privacy report you can pull down now that will show you like, and I think a lot of this is in the cloud. Like it can't, I wouldn't say that for sure, but you can pull this privacy report that shows you everything over like a certain time period that Apple Intelligence is done on your phone. And I guess it's encrypted because it's just like gobbledygook. Like I downloaded it. I was like, well, this is secure as hell because I don't know what any of this is. It's still kind of unclear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like the fundamental architecture of this thing is very new. And what happens on your phone versus in the cloud, there's some stuff that Apple's been very clear that happens on your phone, like Memoji and some of the photo stuff happens on your phone. Mm-hmm. Some of the other stuff I'm assuming a lot of the Siri stuff is going to go to the cloud because Siri goes to the cloud right now. So it just seems like this rollout's going to be a lot slower and more deliberate than anyone anticipated based on WWDC. And it might roll all the way. I mean, late 2025 is very close to when we would expect iOS 19 to be coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm sort of curious how that will all play. But for now, it seems like they've sprinkled in some AI in the places where you would expect it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does seem pretty safe. It's like, okay, we've been able to, it's kind of the table stakes stuff of like, write me an email that's friendly or professional or summarize this for me. And like, that's all they're kind of laying the groundwork with that stuff. And
then we're going to get 18.0 first and then 18.1 second. So this is pretty far away, it seems like.
Yeah. It's a ways.
Right. Well, the AI overlords are coming whether we like it or not. All right, so that's iOS 18.1. It's interesting that's out now, and they're actually dual tracking it, right? There's iOS 18 in the public betas and 18.1 in the developer betas. And you get the feeling they wanted people to be talking about the AI stuff because the Pixel 9 event is coming very soon. And we know exactly what Google's going to talk about the Pixel 9 event. But we got to take a break. Let's do that, come back, and let's talk about the Pixel 9 event. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. So like we were just saying, the Pixel 9 event is coming up. It's August 13th, basically tomorrow. I'm guessing we're just going to we've already seen the phones. I assume Google is just going to talk about the software, which is the new trend, right? The phones look the same as ever, and now we're going to just make you care about AI is how all these companies are going.
Yeah, just hit us over the head with AI, and we've seen every color of the phone, every size. Like, it's bigger, it's smaller. I don't know. I'm just in this like all the phones have turned into iPhone design, which is like fine. We've gotten to this like the edges
They're
are
more
flat.
colorful.
Yeah, I mean, sure. But like I'm good with this. We've gotten to the same place with the phone design, but Google's like I think it's like Samsung and Google are like, how do we make this not an iPhone? And the answer is like a weird camera situation.
Yes.
And it kind of looks like Google's really leaning into the weird camera situation. And I don't know how I still feel about it.
I think these are the Rivian headlights of phone cameras.
Oh,
design.
that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you can love them, you can hate them. They're not changing them.
Yep.
It's, you know, and you can try to convince me that they look like snake eyes. They don't, you know?
No.
Just like you can try to convince me this phone doesn't have a weird forehead. It does.
It does. It does.
Super
Yeah.
does. But it's true. The colors are more vibrant, which is getting away from what Apple is doing, or at least that's what the leaks indicate. So we're expecting a new Pixel 9, a Pixel 9 Pro, a Pixel 9 Pro Fold. My God, these names. And then a watch, right? Pixel Buds Pro 2 and a Pixel Watch 3. So that's a pretty complete refresh of the Pixel line. It feels like the Fold should be where the action is, but I just can't tell how much Google cares about these devices.
That's the question, isn't it? It's so they moved the Fold was on the product cycle with like it was at IO last time around, right? And then they've like scooched it so it's more part of the like main refresh cycle, which kind of makes sense. Is like, is this a flagship phone? It's like the most expensive phone you guys sell, but it's a cycle behind, you know, with the like camera hardware and whatnot. So I think it makes sense moving the Fold into this position, but it's a lot of phones. I don't know. Do we need this many phones?
Like, how do you think it'll compare to, because, you know, Samsung, you said like their foldables are just basically coasting at this point. So are we at a point where like the Pixel Fold is something that is like, yay, competition? Or is that just, it's here?
Yeah, I'm still of the mind that the OnePlus Open got it right. Like, that is how a foldable, like a book style foldable should be shaped. And then Samsung is just committed to this like remote control shape thing. Every year they're like, it's a few millimeters, like the screen is a few millimeters wider and it still feels like a remote control to use. So I'm curious how different this new Pixel Fold is, because there's a lot of rumors that it's like thinner and lighter, because boy, was the previous one heavy. But I do like that like wider aspect ratio for the cover screen. I don't think it needs to be like quite as wide as the first generation Pixel Fold. So we'll see.
Yeah. And then the point of all this is going to be the software, right? This is pretty iterative hardware across the board, some minor camera tweaks, a wacky camera bump. But if you're not paying close attention, I think it's going to be fairly hard to distinguish the hardware from the previous generation. It's the software that's the game. So you can see they're adding Gemini sort of to the first layer of the interface. They've got this new thing called Pixel Screenshots, which is basically just Microsoft Recall, which everyone is scared about, only manual. So instead of constantly taking screenshots, you have to manually take a screenshot. Very good. A very good differentiation. But I'm kind of into it, right? You take a screenshot and you're like, what is this? Or like, save it for later. There's a chicken walking down the street. Just like, hold on to that for me. And then, of course, there's Circle to Search, which Google's adding to basically everything at this point. I will coyly say that a friend of mine just put like Circle to Search to me in the face the other day. You might imagine who that friend is, who was showing me an Android feature. And he dunked on me with Circle to Search, which was pretty funny. But like, this is them saying, okay, there's a new way to think about how this phone works, right? There's AI, Gemini's like right here, and then you can just point at things or tell the phone to look at things and it will generate information for you, which is a very Google approach to it. The question is whether that's enough to make people switch, not even from the iPhone, from their Samsung phones, which obviously are dominant. And of course, because it's Google, whether they'll stay committed to any of these ideas for more than 20 minutes. And I I just don't know.
It's just a confusing time, I think. Even just circle to search, like, and I use it on the Samsung phones I've been testing and the Google phones, obviously, but like there's just kind of a lot of different ways to get at circle to search. And you're like, so is this replacing these? Like Google Lens is still a thing. I can translate something, but like, did I need to circle to search that? They just have a lot of ideas. Yeah, it's like, do you open up Gemini and like take a screenshot of something or a picture of the inside of your refrigerator? Or, I don't know. There's just a lot of like input methods where it just sort of could feel overwhelming. But it's seems like they're in that position that we're kind of talking about with Smarter Siri, where it's like, okay, like you've made the promises. This is going to make our lives easier, blah, blah, blah. Right now, it's just a bunch of like, you can switch the faces in these photos or, put a rain cloud in the sky behind you. And like, that was all nice and everything, but like, let's see something. Like, can they, the screenshot thing? Sure, that would be cool. I'm going to take a screenshot of a recipe, and I literally have the same like spaghetti and meatball recipe from America's Test Kitchen bookmarked in my Google Photos as a like favorite, as if it's a photo of my child. Like I just look at it that often. I'm like too cheap to pay for America's Test Kitchen and can't commit to writing it down. So I don't know. I think there's a real use case for help me find this thing in a screenshot.
I feel like, I work with both of you very closely, and the audience might not know what it's like to work with you, but I favorited a screenshot of a recipe that I make all the time versus there's a photo of a chicken that I can never find is kind of exactly the difference.
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That tracks.
That tracks. It tells a whole story.
I'm just making my spaghetti and meatballs, and V's like, where's that chicken?
I think about the Brooklyn chicken all the time. It's been so long, I'm not sure this chicken is alive anymore. I may have the only record of this sidewalk walking chicken. Like, it's important to me that this chicken lives in my memory.
Please send us a note and describe how your photo storage approaches. Describe your personality, because I think there's a lot in there. It's a rich zone to unpack.
On a scale of like 1 to chicken.
On the scale of I'm just scrolling for a photo of a chicken endlessly. I swear it's here. Speaking of photos, Allison, you've been covering what can only be described as the what is a photo apocalypse somewhat closely. You just wrote a piece about the Samsung to sketch a bee, and it'll put a bee in the photo for you. It seems like the Pixel 9 is just going to continue moving inexorably down this path with this feature called Add Me that will just add you to photos that you're not in.
Yep. That's what it sounds like.
I mean, it's only from a leak. It's only from a leak. It was in a YouTube video that got removed. It was like an ad, and it was leaked to YouTube and it got removed. But it just feels like Google has to start communicating about how it will keep our information environment somewhat pure as it adds these features that just pollute it more than ever.
Yeah, they were really like tiptoeing up to the line, I feel like, last year. And it was like, well, this is just something that people have been doing in Photoshop for a long time. And now more people have the tools. And then I feel like Samsung kicked the door down with sketch to image. It was like, put a chicken in your photo, put a blimp, like whatever you want to do, you can have it. And then, yeah, I feel like the floodgates are open, and I don't know how aggressive Google will be. Like the add me to the photo thing, it seems like there could be guardrails on it, or it could just be like pure chaos, and it's an election year, and what could go wrong?
So many things could go wrong, but I also it just reminds me of this one family portrait I have. So my family's half split in the US versus Korea. And so we all went to Korea to get this family portrait, except for one cousin who couldn't go because he was a dual citizen and his military service time was coming up, because all Korean men have to do military service before they're 30. And he's just like, I'm just not going to do it. So he had to get photoshopped into the family photo.
Oh, no.
And if you look at it from a distance, you can't tell that he's been photoshopped in. But if you look up close, you're like, well, the lighting on his hair is wrong. It's coming from a different angle. You can really he's just texturally not the same as everybody else. So,
oh no.
You can tell. And it's just like this huge family portrait and Steve, who's like been photoshopped in. So like, I don't know. Not really, because we can all tell he's not there. So it's sort of like, I don't know. I feel like my auntie, my auntie would love to have him in this sort of situation. But I also, having aunties with the power to just add you into anything, that seems also dangerous.
It's not like an AI add me feature, at least from the ad that we see. It's like a compositing feature, like a very manual compositing feature, where you take a photo with us and you leave space for literally yourself in the photo, and then someone else holds the camera and it shows you the old photo, and you like go stand where you would have been, and then you take a photo and it stitches all the photos together. So it's very manual in its way. I'm sure there's AI in the background to handle the stitching and alignment and probably the textures and colors and lighting.
Too many fingers. Yeah.
But the idea that it's not like deep faking you to put you in the photo. It's taking another photo of you in the same space and then like making a composite, which is still weird.
Yeah. It's one of those features that like as a parent now I'm like, oh, I completely get that. Like Best Take, where it's like, you try and take a picture where there's more than 2 toddlers in it, like forget it. Nobody's going to have a good time. But then it's like, oh, you have all of this data and you can just kind of like AI it together into one photo that looks right. The like, you get to be in the photo even though you took the photo thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm following along with that. I get that.
So it's basically weird. So you never have to ask someone, oh, hey, do you mind taking a photo of us? Because
you have to ask them that, but in a much more complicated and ethically challenged way.
Like it's in your group. It
would be in your group. So like, like you two would take a photo, and then I would take the photo of you two, and then I would hand one of you the phone, and I would go stand next to where you had been standing, and you would take another photo, and the Pixel would composite those photos together. So it looked like all three of us are standing there.
I hate talking to strangers and asking them to take a group photo for me and my group. So this is really going to help me not grow as a person and not talk to strangers more is basically.
Oh, see, I love being asked that question because then everyone's like, oh, you know what you're doing, which is great.
Oh, people don't know what they're getting into. I'm like, so you've got the Pixel phone. Tell me about your choices here. They're like, who's this lady?
Yeah. The second someone hands you a phone and you turn it to landscape, they're like, oh my God, we got a player here, everybody. But even that's weird. Like even the thing I'm describing where it's pretty manual, right? It's not just AI deep faking you, but you're making a composite photo. What is a photo? Like it's not a moment in time. That moment quite literally never happened. And we're gonna pass it off as a photo. And I've been thinking about this parents thing because Allison, every time you write about it, you put it in there. Like the experience of being a parent is just trying to is like I would like a statistical average of this moment in time that makes me feel good.
Right.
Is like the goal of like kid photography.
Yeah, the reality is too scary.
Yeah, like if I could just round off the edges and be like, this felt great. Yeah. Like at several moments throughout this day.
Right.
Like that would be fine. I don't actually need a pixel perfect recreation of this moment in time. Yeah. And it's kind of weird. Like that is sort of the goal. And I understand in particular why parents want that. But it's right next to, are you showing somebody an image of a thing that actually happened? Mm-hmm. Or are you just creating an illustration? And is that illustration, like in the age of influencers, Instagram, is that illustration going to lead to all kinds of weird outcomes about what people's expectations of their own experiences should be like? Because they don't know they're looking at something fake. And the entire ecosystem, we talked about the show in the context of like the images of the Trump assassination attempt. The entire ecosystem of validating these images, saying what's real, what's not, which ones are AI, which ones aren't, is just not ready. Like that we've talked about it a lot. There are initiatives and alliances, and there's labels on meta platforms that are being applied seemingly randomly, but none of it works. Like no one trusts any of it. And I just like, we're just barreling towards this future of completely synthetic images coming off these phones. And I just don't, it doesn't seem like any of the companies give a shit.
Yeah, I feel like there's this just shared understanding we have, especially with a phone camera. It's like you just pointed at a thing, you were there, you took a picture, it happened. You put it on, you see it on Instagram. It's like we just have this shared understanding of like, yes, that was a thing that happened exactly, you know, like more or less as we saw it. We all understand that people pose for photos with big hats on in front of gorgeous landscapes or whatever. But yeah, we're just like coming straight at that moment of like, okay, we're going to have to start asking some different questions when you're scrolling through Instagram, or just like shifting your mindset. And it's not even like when I did the sketch to image, I did, you know, mess with a bunch of photos, added cats and pirate ships and like nonsense to them. And I posted a bunch to my Instagram like grid in a post. And I went through the requirements they have for like when you need to add an AI tag. And it didn't even meet them. It was like, you can, you know, it was like something about, it was like my own personal photo. And I wasn't, the way it had manipulated it was like, it's kind of up to you, you know, put a tag on there or don't, whatever. Like, okay. That's fine. This is all fine.
Well, see, the other thing I've noticed a lot of is even just the basic AI features in phones now. They're overcorrecting and over sharpening. And this is beyond like it looks bad. It's like if you zoom in too far on a lot of modern smartphone photos now, you will see that the text is all AI wonky. And like signs in the background because the AI has tried to denoise and sharpen, and you've gotten some weird stuff. Like really small faces far away in a lot of smartphone photos now look incredibly distorted and demonic because there's like 3 pixels, and it's like, well, what if I put a face here? And it's like, I don't really know what a face looks like yet. So here's a face, a vaguely face-shaped denoised thing. I think Samsung phones are more egregious with this than iPhones, but they're all doing it to varying degrees, and that is already confusing people. Yeah. Like they're like, these photos are AI generated. And it's like, you're not wrong, but you're also not right. Like that moment in time did happen. And then, a smartphone interpreted this demon face instead of just not having information there.
It's weird when it kind of comes to the surface where, what was the photo of the lady trying on a wedding dress where, in the mirror, she's like making 2 different poses and like, everybody lost their minds, and it turned out to be like it was accidentally in panorama mode or something like that. But just even that is like, you know, this stuff has been going on behind the scenes and just sort of like doing everything it can with that data to make a photo that it thinks you will like. And then when it kind of goes sideways and is obvious, then it's a real weird moment of like, no, yeah, actually your phone's been doing this. Like it just didn't look like a demon until right this moment.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some moment where the industry, probably not the industry, or governments, the EU, they're always doing stuff. They're going to say, if you enable these features, you have to like hard watermark these photos as being partially generated by AI. Because if we don't get all the way there, then we're going to end up in this extremely weird moment where only professionals with like cryptographic signatures in their DSLRs uploading directly to Getty are the source of any truth. And I don't think that doesn't seem sustainable, right? Like only if you buy this one Leica camera and you have a contract with Reuters can your photos be trusted. Like
a $10,000 camera.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem. That doesn't seem like what anybody wants. I'm hopeful that like consumers correct this first, but I suspect that some government somewhere is going to have to make a rule, and people are going to have to comply because we're just headed every time. And I know the Google people are going to yell at me because every time I'm like, "What is a photo apocalypse is here because of some Google feature?" They're like, "No, this is just what people want," and I'm like, "But people also want sugar." Like
we want
like,
a lot of
cigarettes.
things.
It's like. What do you want me to do?
It always does feel like they have the best case scenario in mind and that humans are not goblins who do horrible things to each other sometimes. They're like, oh no, everyone will use it in the way that we intend, which is the nice way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no.
Yeah,
you only
around.
need one jerk. You only need one jerk to ruin everything.
Look around. All right, other reviews. V, you reviewed the Galaxy Watch Ultra this week. What's
Yes.
What kind of Apple Watch is it? A good one or a bad one?
It's an Apple Watch Ultra. That sure is what it is. But like, actually, what it really is that like if you took the Apple Watch Ultra and drew it from memory, that's the Samsung Galaxy Watch Ultra. Or if you like took the Apple font, it's like the Apple Watch Ultra 2, but like in an Android font is just basically what you're doing with this. I was writing the review and then I was like, you know what? It's actually just expedient if I tell you what's different and bullet point everything that is the same, because there's too many things that are the same. And then I started doing the major things that are the same. And then I was like, oh, but then there's this, and then there's this, and then there's like all these tiny little features that only a psycho like me would know and remember are on each of the watches are there. Like, oh, you can run against your last race performance if you're a runner. Yeah, Apple did that in watchOS 9. And now he's here on the Samsung. And like, why is it here on the Samsung? Because I don't know, it was on Apple. They have an orange shortcut button that is the quick button on Samsung and the action button on the Apple Watch. It's the same thing, just in a different font. And that's like, you could sum up the watch as that. And also it's a squircle and I don't like it. I had mixed feelings about the squircle going in. And then after 2 weeks of wear, I don't like the squircle. It is just too chunky on my wrist. I can fit 3 chopsticks into the gap between the watch and and my wrist, and it's just a chonker. It's a very chunky boy, and so orange. Like the Apple Watch Ultra was orange. This is so radioactively biohazard orange. It's a little upsetting how orange it is. It's I don't have it on me right now, but it looks like a Halloween watch. I actually ended up appreciating the regular Galaxy Watch 7, which I am wearing right now, a whole lot more, because I was like, oh, it doesn't hurt me to wear it because it's just too big. It's too big for my wrist. And like the Apple Watch Ultra is also big for my wrist. I can stick a bunch of stuff in here. There's like a gap. But something about it being a square just made it a lot harder for me to wear. When I was testing the sleep apnea feature, it was just like, nope, we can't get readings from you. So I actually had to wear the other one to get the readings and test that feature out. So it makes it sound bad, but it's actually a really great Android watch. I would say it's like one of the best Android watches that are available. There's a little part of me that hurts that Samsung decided to make an Apple Watch in order to create this excellent Android watch. It just felt wrong. It felt wrong to me because I truly do love how weird and unique the Samsung smartwatches have been with their rotating bezels and just Samsung being weird about how it does health stuff. The ages metric is just completely bonkers. I don't understand why it's there.
I was definitely going to ask you about this. By the way, you said age, and that stands for Advanced Glycation End Products.
Yes.
Have they yet told you what that means?
So you can there's a whole like informational section that you can read in the Samsung Health app about what it is, and it's basically measuring compounds when fats and sugars in your blood oxidize. How is it doing this? Samsung won't say. It just says there's a new 3-in-1 active biosensor with more LED colors and whatnot. And there's a little spectrum and it goes from low to high. And if you're low, I guess you're metabolically younger than your age. And if you're high, I guess you're not your metabolic age.
They're measuring this through the skin?
Yes.
They're not like pricking you. The watch isn't like taking your blood.
No, everything is non-invasive.
And there's not like a chemical sense. It's not like in your sweat. They're just doing the thing that everyone does.
They're just shining light into your skin, and based on like how it reflects back, they're just telling you things that have not been FDA cleared. It's very experimental. Like I did not know what this actual feature was. So, when I was getting briefed on it, I went up to Samsung and I'm like, so what is this? And they were basically like, well, we have this new sensor. So we thought, why not throw this also in here?
That's the most Samsung answer of all time.
And I was like, oh, okay. So like, how do you intend people to use it? And they're like, actually, we don't know. Like, we just kind of want to see how people use it. And so a lot of the new features are quote unquote AI powered, and you're getting these AI insights, and they're telling me things that I don't know what to do with, because on the one hand, the watch was like, hey, you have not been consistent with your sleep, little lady. You should work on that. And then I refresh the app and it's like, great job staying consistent with your sleep schedule. And I was just like, so which is it? Which is it? Which is it? I had one night where I didn't like have my sleep schedule completely perfect. So I guess that's what it was reacting. That's not helpful. And then the ages metric, they're like, well, if you want to improve your score, I'm smack dab in the middle. So I don't know. I guess that means I'm my age metabolically. Who knows?
Wait, can I just stick with the age thing for 1 second?
Yes.
So they have a metric called age, which
Yes.
I think most people know what a metric called age is meant to measure, which is your age.
Yes.
Right? That's a well-known label for a thing. And then it measures... First of all, let me just quote your own review back to you, V.
Yes.
Meanwhile,
yes.
the age metric is baffling, is what you have written here.
Yes. It is baffling.
So then it's shining a light through your wrist, and then somehow from the reflections of that light, it is tracking how protein and fat are oxidized by sugar, and then telling you whether that's low, medium, or high. And then they're saying that is something called age. And I just want to point out how deeply, meaningfully confusing that is.
It's your metabolic age.
Right.
So
It's
they
like if
love
they
to
label
do
it-
these things.
Get out of here.
But there's no. But it's like a new metric. Is this a metric that exists in like the literature?
It is a metric that exists in research, and scientists are studying it. But in a consumer watch, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing in a consumer watch. So it tells me that I'm like kind of in the medium, neither low or high, in the yellow section, so to speak. And it's like, okay, so to improve your ages metric, here's
Does it
what
know
you
how
do.
old you are?
Yeah, you do. I did put my like demographic information.
So presumably, if is it at all related to your actual age?
It's
Like if you're green, is your metabolic age younger than your actual age?
Yes, that's basically what they're telling
This
you.
is the idea.
That's so messed
This is
up.
the idea. It's,
and then how
Allison,
do they?
it's not messed up. It means nothing. It means nothing. So it doesn't have to be messed up. It's just baffling. It
just
makes no sense.
I like new metrics. I'm just
Yes.
trying to understand this one. So someone somewhere is like a 25-year-old has a metabolism of X. And if you tell us
Yes.
you're 25 by shining a light from a smartwatch into your wrist,
This
we
is
can
a new.
tell you
This
if
is a
you're
new.
old.
This is kind of a new thing that they're doing in wearables. It's not just Samsung. Like, basically, Aura recently did a thing where it's like, we can tell you what your cardiovascular age is and whether it's aligned with your physical age or not. And so there's just like this obsession with telling you whether you are like physically speaking aligned with expectations for your actual age, or whether you're quote unquote physiologically younger than your actual age, or
I feel like
older.
there's a lot of people in Silicon Valley who are drinking the blood of
They're-
the young in order to live forever. And I'm not
they
trying to draw a straight line to the Galaxy Watch Ultra. I'm just saying there's a path, perhaps a
Yes.
winding path,
There is.
but a path.
But it's
I do not
it's
want
funny.
a smart ring to tell me if my heart is dying faster than I am.
Well, maybe you
is
do.
this?
listen. There are health nuts who want this information. I don't necessarily think it's actually good for their mental health to have this information. But the app was just basically like, hey, so here's how you can improve your ages index, a metric that means absolutely nothing. And you'll never guess what the advice is, because it's to eat healthy,
Oh yeah,
sleep well, and exercise. So I'm just like, oh, thanks.
It's always
Never
that last
heard of
one that
it.
gets you.
Never.
It's always that last one. All right. Like all Samsung devices, this works best if you're in the Galaxy ecosystem,
Yes,
right? I'm
yes.
assuming none of it works on iPhone. What gets worse if you have a Pixel or you have a OnePlus?
Well, would you like to have your EKGs and AFib detection? You will not get that unless you have a Galaxy phone. Would you like to know if you have sleep apnea? You will not get that unless you have a Galaxy phone, because that requires the Samsung Health Monitor app, which is separate from Samsung Health, meaning you're just not going to get that. And some of the AI features are Galaxy phone like only as well, which actually I think that's great for you, because the AI was very hit or miss for me. And all the advice it gave me, it would be like, hey, your age is not ideal. Exercise more. And then the AI was like, you're exercising a little too much. You should rest because it's affecting your sleep. And also, you're sleeping well and not well at the same time. So it's like, cool, great, thanks.
I feel like it's a big ask to be like, you need a new watch and a new phone.
And a new ring. And all of that stuff.
So I did last week. We asked listeners to send us a note if they were all in on the Samsung ecosystem. I'm just going to guess and say that if I asked listeners to send us notes about why they were all in on the Apple ecosystem, we would crash the internet, right? Like we would just get a lot. I like say in a breath, like, I don't think CarPlay is very good, and emails for days, man. All day long, people are like, how dare you? We asked for Galaxy ecosystem users. We got 2 emails. Just putting it out there. So one person, Sean, thank you, Sean, for emailing. They wrote in, they're upgrading from a Fold 4 to a Fold 6. Which is, great. They're doing it because the Fold 4 broke, the warranty on the device is cashed, and they found a way through the cell phone warranty to get a Fold 6. Right. They try to use this licensed Samsung repair company, Ubreak iFix, that cost money. So then they tried to use their Amex warranty. They were denied. Then Amex called Samsung. They said no. And then they went to cell phone insurance, which they had, and that replaced and got them the Fold 6. So that is one way to stay in the Samsung ecosystem, is a nightmare repair journey because the seals in your Fold 4 broke. I would not say this is the type of email we get when we ask why people stay in the Apple ecosystem. So that's one. We got another one. Thank you so much for emailing from Israel. This one says, you asked to hear from a Galaxy ecosystem user. I am that user, which is great. Truly appreciate that line. They wrote to us, I'm typing this on my Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra. I upgraded from Z Fold 4 to Z Fold 6. I use the tablet form factor much more than the phone fold factor, which means they have both a Galaxy tablet and they are constantly using their phone in tablet mode. This is the most Android tablet usage I've ever heard of in my entire life. You're breaking, you're whatever you do, everyone's like, that's 90% of the usage. They have a Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, and they're waiting on their Galaxy Watch Ultra. And then they have 4 TVs, including a frame TV. Their washer and dryer, Samsung. They have the air dresser, the fridge, the oven, a robot vacuum, a SmartThings hub, a Blu-ray player, you're my people, and then it says, and something else I'm forgetting, I'm sure. And then...
Are they Korean?
And then at the end, it says, my husband uses an iPhone and an iPad.
Oh, wow. There's a case study.
So
I just want to say one, thank you. I love this. I'm going to write back, but you've neglected to say why you have chosen that. So I would love to know why. And if anyone else is out there and wants to send us a note with their list and why, I'm dying to read them, because we know so much about the Apple ecosystem and how people feel about it. Trust me, we know so much. You are not quiet. I'm dying to know how people in other ecosystems feel about it. And it's like really interesting to get these notes. So keep writing in. I'm very curious. That said, my husband uses an iPhone and iPad is very funny. Like deeply funny.
Yeah. There's something going on. I love it.
Someone is very excited about RCS.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. I mean, look, there's a bunch of Samsung devices in this house. Somehow I've ended up in the LG ThinkQ ecosystem because that's our washer and dryer and fridge.
Oh boy.
God only knows why. And now I'm like, man, I got an update I got a notification the other day that new songs for summer were available for the washer and dryer. And I was like, yes, this is the dream.
Oh my God.
So wait, songs for your washer and dryer to play?
Yeah, every quarter LG sends new little icons for the seasons and then issues new songs.
This is why they
espresso on there.
They couldn't make phones anymore. They've like, we have to divert those resources to the washer and dryer.
There's 50 engineers with Casio keyboards being like, din, 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 din. Like, and once a quarter they send them to me. And it's great. I truly love it.
This is incredible.
We can't wrap up the Samsung conversation without talking about Saturday Samsung.
Samsung.
So if you don't know, this is what we have started calling Samsung's relentless attempts to sell more products, which are all born of the company losing some money, sales are flat, and they issued an edict saying everyone had to come to work 6 days a week until they recovered. Crazy. And it's their corporate employees, which means a bunch of suits are sitting around Samsung headquarters on Saturday being like, some more shit. They're not making any, they're the suits. They, what are they going to do? So it's only weird promotions. So we have covered you get a free TV if you buy a TV, which is amazing. We have covered you get a free TV if you buy a phone, also amazing. You would think it would continue in this vein, but no. Last Saturday, I guess, burst of creativity, and they decided that the best way to market the Galaxy Z Flip in America would be to say that the Z Flip, it's a folding phone, a little flippy guy, is ideal for busy police officers to wear as a body cam.
That's so Samsung.
It's very
Samsung.
good.
Oh, it's so bad. Like, I have put a folding phone on my shirt. I think I'm safe to say I'm one of the few people who's tried that outside of these police officers. It's a dumb idea. Like, it's just not a good idea.
That it just doesn't seem secure. Also, like, where are they? Don't they wear vests? This
Well,
doesn't.
they look like
they worked, so they didn't just like issue them like T-Mobile phones. They partnered. There's a post on Samsung's website. It's titled "Samsung Technology is helping police authority protect the public safety," which is a lot. They partnered with a company called Visual Labs, which is, quote, a leading body camera solution provider. Capitalism. And then 2 police departments in Missouri did a pilot program with all of this. They have a customized Z Flip that has like slightly different buttons. The phones can be set to automatically begin recording when the phone detects a pursuit. Or if you're in the car when the emergency lights are turned on, and then the video footage is sent to the Visual Labs cloud.
Okay,
this is all very good.
Looking at this, that's ridiculous.
It's so bad.
That is so.
Well, get ready, V, because 25 more police departments are going to start wearing the Z Flip as body cams.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
and I was wrong. There's a partnership with T-Mobile, so they are T-Mobile phones.
Like, what do you need the rest of the phone on your person for? Like, you just need a camera. And
I just like the idea that people are gonna like flip it open and then like make a TikTok and like
yeah. They're gonna start doing some dances and
good
it's
Lord.
not okay.
this whole press release is great, but there's just like other benefits which are basically like this phone has a camera in it. So one of the benefits is, in addition to their use as body-worn cameras, Z Flip devices can help improve evidence gathering and transparency by clearly documenting details of arrests and other interactions.
It's absolutely
Sure.
not.
There's literally a feature on this phone to draw stuff that wasn't there. Body cameras do not have that. This is such a bad idea.
Draw in the
put
drugs.
The cocaine here.
Put the cocaine here in the dash.
Yes, the Galaxy Z Flip, quote, the Galaxy Z Flip additionally functions as a digital camera needed for taking pictures of crime scene evidence, an audio recorder for witness interviews, and a personnel locator for tracking the officer's location through GPS. This is just a phone. Like, I just want to be very clear. What they have described is a phone. And like, have you thought about using a phone?
On this body camera? Incredible.
It's very good.
Draw the suspect in the bushes.
I just want you all to imagine the high fives this Saturday afternoon. There's like, there's like one slice of pizza left in the box. The cheese is getting a little weird. And they're like, what if we just gave it to cops? Like, it was like a lightning bolt moment.
They were out the door in their cars like, we did it. Day's over.
Sales are up.
God.
Sell 25 police departments.
They
that wanna
sell
receive
25 more phones.
Oh God.
It's very good. It is truly very good. Saturday Samsung. It never gets old. All right, we should take a break. We are cruising our way to being way over here. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. It's time for the lightning round. As ever, unsponsored. I feel like the rudest thing David did was leave for the week and not pay to sponsor the lightning round.
Could have put
Like honestly, if you're gonna leave me hanging, bro, like sponsored by David Pierce, you know what I'm saying? Like set the tone. Sadly, still unsponsored. We're still in the market. We get a lot of weird emails from people who are like, "I'll do my crypto startup." We're not gonna let you do that. Sorry. That's just not gonna happen. But if you have like a real company and a lot of money, talk to us. Someone will talk. Not me. That's the other side of the house. But someone will talk to you. All right. Here's how I want to do lightning this week. We have like 3 topics. 2 of them just have a lot of headlines. So I'm just gonna read all of the headlines and then we'll like figure out what's going on. The first one though is just one headline and it's our fault. Logitech's new CEO, Hanneke Faber, was on Decoder this week. She's the new CEO. She just started like late last year. We had the old CEO, Bracken Darrell, on several times. One of my ideas with Decoder is there's more than 5 companies in the world. And so we should talk to all the companies and pay attention to them. That generally goes well. And Logitech is one of those companies I think is undercovered, right? Like they're just around. You don't think about them very much. And it turned out under Bracken Darrell, like how Logitech worked was bonkers. Like he's like, I have 23 direct reports. Everyone's just allowed to do whatever they want. I buy companies. I leave them alone. There's no overlap. Just like everyone have a good time, which is how you end up with them buying like 50 headphone companies. And they're all just kind of like doing their thing. You're like, I wonder if they have a strategy. The answer was they do, which is leave everybody alone, which worked just to whatever extent. Bracken leaves Logitech. He now works for, I think it's called VF Brands. They own Vans and Supreme and the North Face. So the guy who ran Logitech is now the CEO of Supreme. Incredible. We're going to see how that goes. I'm going to try to get him back to be like, so Supreme, that's the whole thing. And they have a new CEO, Hanneke, who came from like Unilever and Procter & Gamble. She has this background in consumer goods and like marketing. Really interesting. And I was like, are you going to change this wacky corporate structure? And that was what I thought Decoder was going to be about. Truly, that's what I thought we were going to talk. And then we did talk about that for a while. And then she's like, I want to build a forever mouse. And this keeps happening to me on Decoder where I'm like, what? Explain. And she's like, I want to build a really beautiful mouse. It's like very heavy, very premium. And we'll just do software updates forever. And that will be your forever mouse. Like you'll just have it forever. And I'm thinking, well, I've had this mouse forever.
Right.
Same.
Right. It's like 10 years old.
Are people replacing mice?
Yeah,
No.
so very confused. And you can hear, if you listen to it, the transcript reads one way, but if you actually go and listen to Decoder, I'm just laughing. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's only 2 ways to monetize hardware over time. It is subscriptions or it is ads. And she's like, yep, those are the 2 ways. I'm like, so you're going to do a subscription mouse? And she's like, I am. And I encourage you to go listen to this because I'm just like losing my mind, like laughing.
What am I subscribing to with the subscription mouse?
Right. So it's AI software.
No! What is AI software for my mouse?
Yeah.
What, are you going to change the DPI based on what I'm doing?
No. It's not even that. Like you were like that. Here's an idea. No, it's worse than that. They're putting the buttons on the mouse so that when you see a field, like any text field on your computer, the mouse will do the prompting for you.
Absolutely not.
So they've already rolled this out in Options Plus.
No.
This is like a thing. This is a thing in Logitech mice today for like newer mice. Why older mice are not allowed to have the software? I didn't even get to because I was just what? Right? Like you can listen to me like dewire my brain in this conversation. So I was like, so a mouse? And she's like, yeah, this is how our video conferencing software works. And I was like, but that's a service. This is a mouse. And she's like, yeah, a mouse. I'll put like a beautiful, and I believe she said diamond encrusted mouse. So that was Decoder. These things happen to me on Decoder all the time. What I was not expecting was the idea of the subscription mouse has just like, it's a news cycle. And it was just like the new CEO riffing, but now there's a full news cycle of Logitech doing subscription mice.
Oh no.
And I will tell you, not since like HP was like subscription printers have people been this unhappy about any idea that I've ever heard.
I mean,
there are YouTubers who are making YouTube videos about it. I've seen TikToks about it. It's like crazy. It's like it's living its own little life.
People are throwing away their Logitech mice. Like,
no, we're not throwing away. This is really going to be my forever Logitech mouse now. I'm never giving it up.
Yeah, I will say the mouse on my other computer there is easily 15 years old.
Yeah. Like, you just get one out of the box.
It's kind of gross. I'm not saying it's not a little gross.
They get disgusting, but like you're just in an office, you find one out of a box, someone put it there 10 years ago.
Thumb sweat. You can see my thumb sweat on this mouse.
It's a radio show. Stop showing people your thumb sweat.
It's just, Describe
it for the audio listener. I will tell you, I rarely get deeply surprised by what happens on Decoder. It's mostly a show about org charts, as the listeners know. And then every now and again, these past couple of months, the Zoom CEO came on and was like, we're building AI clones of everyone to put in Zoom meetings. And again, I just encourage you can just listen to me try to respond to that in real time. And look, I'll take the heat on Decoder. People are like, you're too nice, whatever. Like, I'm always trying to be better. I'm always trying to ask harder questions. Just imagine what it's like in real time to be faced with someone being like, the future of Zoom is AI clones and meetings. And you have to like acknowledge that, like not die, and then formulate a series of follow-up questions that make any sense, that like tell a little story. It's harder than it looks is all I'm trying to say.
And you
have to keep them there. Right. Like, they're dead and you have to keep them talking. It's just much more challenging. In subscription mice, you can hear me just, what are you talking about?
Record scratch. Yeah. Oh, God.
So I was not intending to cause a full news cycle about mice. It was truly not my intent. But I hope Logitech doesn't do subscription mice. I tried very hard to be like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Please don't.
But Logitech has this really interesting problem. Like, it is interesting to think of their big problem, which is if you believe that AI is going to be important, and we've talked about it in this episode, it might be that you just talk to your phone a bunch more, right? And it just like does stuff for you. It might be that natural interfaces, natural language interfaces, using the camera's interface, all this stuff starts to take over from traditional PCs more and more and more. This has been the dream for a long time. There's a reason that Google and Microsoft, everybody else calls AI a platform shift. And if that happens, like mice sales go down, right? Like if we use desktop computers left and we talk to our phones more or whatever, maybe like PC sales will go down and then mice sales go down. And then we just like, if you're Logitech, you're like, well, how do I preserve the revenue? And you're like, gold plated, diamond encrusted subscription mice. And like, maybe that's not the right solution. But you can see the pressure. It's like, it was a good conversation that I was not expecting just that little bit to resonate as much as it does. That said, we have to find the brother laser printers of mice. The other thing, there were TikToks about subscription mice, and that put me into like people complaining about subscriptions TikTok. And then I got to one where a very nice like young woman was like bitching about her, a very nice young woman. And it got me to one where I think an influencer, she was just complaining about her subscription printer, and all the comments were like, buy a brother laser printer. And I was like, I did it. Like the Verge has accomplished its goal.
One thing we stand for. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy one piece of hardware that lasts forever. I think the Verge stands for that. All right. So that's lightning round one. It feels like we're on a consensus that we're not going to do AI powered subscription mice.
No.
Don't like it. Don't want it.
No, absolutely not.
The idea that your mouse is the one that creates the prompt for OpenAI is like, it's bold. It's
an
bold.
idea that sounds like a mouse wrote it.
If you're a diehard options plus ecosystem person, write us a note. All right. So, okay, here's the other two where I'm just going to read a bunch of headlines for lightning round. The first, very much related to what we've been talking about with photos. There's just a bunch of deepfake news this week. Everyone knows it's a problem. We know we got to stop it. And then some people are like, screw it, we're doing it anyway. And by some people, I mean Elon Musk, who posted a deepfake video of Kamala Harris that violates X's own policies about deepfake that were implemented under his ownership. This isn't like there was an old rule that he disagrees with and he's bulldozing it. He made a rule about deepfakes because everyone knows it's a problem. And then he posted this ad with Harris. It's like Harris's campaign ad with the Beyonce song, but they replaced the voiceover with her saying Biden is too old. Okay. Like in many ways, this is just standard political parody. Like if I hired a Kamala Harris impersonator to do this, would it be a problem? I don't know. But if you already have the rule that's like, don't do this, you should not, you should not, as the owner of the platform, do it. So he doesn't care. He doesn't give a shit. But that's where we are, right? It's like already happening. There's already these like weird moments occurring because of just bad faith actors on both sides, in particular one side. But it's already happening. Then here's the rest of the headlines. Microsoft wants Congress to outlaw AI-generated deepfakes. Google tweaks search to hide explicit deepfakes. So if Google deranks your website or knocks your website for having deepfakes on it, especially explicit ones, search won't show them to people anymore. They're just going to go away from search. Congress wants to carve out intimate AI deepfakes, which is basically there's a language conversation here about what you should call these. So you might call these like AI revenge porn. Revenge porn is like a very loaded word for a lot of reasons. So now we're going to try intimate AI deepfakes. So you carve that out from Section 230, right? So that means right now, if you post stuff to a platform like Facebook or X or Instagram or whatever, those platforms are not liable for what you post. That's Section 230. It makes the internet go around. And they're saying, no, actually, if you allow intimate AI deepfakes, you are now liable for them. And that basically means you have to moderate them. So that's one idea. And then the Copyright Office just issued a huge report on AI and copyright, which they've been working on for quite some time. And their first chapter of this report was about deepfakes. And you can read it. It's very long. It's very good. It's very easy to read. We'll link to it in the show notes here. But they're basically like, yeah, copyright law can't do this. We need a new law. This is a disaster. Here's how we think the new law should work. So we're just at this moment where everyone is seeing the problem very clearly. And then lastly, in the Senate, the No Fakes Act has been introduced. It's not close to passing, but yet another bill to ban deepfakes, to regulate deepfakes. So we're at this point now where everybody sees the problem, right? Google as a platform is doing some stuff to stop it. Microsoft as a company is asking Congress to outlaw it. The government is like, we don't have the laws to do it. Some parts of the governments are saying we need to do it. It feels like this is the first big AI regulation that's going to happen. It feels like it's also the first one that has to happen.
Deepfake's bad. So yeah.
It's like the Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man meme. We're like, what's going on? Who's in charge here? Like, Elon Musk is making rules about deepfakes and then not following those rules.
Not following them.
The government is like, yeah, we don't know.
I agree. Deepfake's bad, especially the ones that are being used to harass people and intimidate people and bully people. Like those are, I think, fully bad. And if you read that Copyright Office report, they're like, a lot of our law right now is set up to protect famous people. Like the patchwork of state likeness laws and publicity laws are all basically like, if you're a celebrity and Samsung uses you to sell refrigerators, you can't do that. And I say that because that is a real case that happened in our justice system where Samsung made a robot that looked like Vanna White to sell refrigerators, and Vanna White sued Samsung and won.
Oh my God.
Because the robot looked too much like Vanna White. Real case. This is a real thing that happened.
Oh my God.
And that's like all of our law right now is set up to deal with that problem, which is wonderful. But it's all for famous. Like you have to be famous enough so that people can be confused about. But regular people have no protection because none of them are famous. So the Copyright Office is saying, no, this problem is going to affect regular people. It's going to affect teenage girls in schools. It already is. It's going to affect teenage boys in schools. It's going to affect everybody. It's if you don't like your teacher and you can deepfake them, like all of this bullying that can happen with deepfakes is real. It's happening now, and we don't have the laws to stop it. So then you say we could stop it. But that brings you all the way back around to, well, what if I just hire a Trump impersonator to look at a camera and be like, I'm bad? You know, like that is straightforwardly like political speech. It should be protected. The line there is really blurry. And I think we're in for maybe a pendulum swing pretty far in the direction of all of that is not allowed. And then over time, we're going to have to swing it back to, well, you should probably be allowed to hire the Elvis impersonator, right? Like, he's dead. Right, but should the Taylor Swift impersonator at the one casino be allowed to act like Taylor Swift? Like, probably. How are you going to draw that line? It's pretty unclear right now.
Well, what will SNL do at that point? Because then their whole thing is just like, man, I don't envy the people at the copyright office or anywhere just trying to like proactively think about how to deal with this. Because it's a lot easier when it's reactionary, when you're like, oh, bad thing happened, we need to do something. But then to actually think of it in a proactive manner and be like, how are people going to use this? Well, I don't know. We're only as good as the most unhinged teenage boy in the classroom, just thinking up of the most crazy way to use these things. Like,
I was that boy, and don't allow me to have access to computers. That was a real mistake the whole time. Allison, we talk about photos and cameras and device makers all the time. You know, Google is changing search to hide explicit deepfakes. Microsoft wants regulations. Do you see that expressed in the products that they're making at all? It's like, it's funny that they're kind of like asking for someone to make rules on what they can and can't do. And if they don't have the rules, they won't stop themselves.
Yeah. It's a weird thing of like, they're all sort of like, well, we definitely agree that, you know, fake bad stuff is bad. So, but here, draw a chicken into your photo, or, you know, it's sort of like there's no agreement between like, and we're going to slow down and wait till we figured this out, or, you know, like have some kind of industry standard that these things are like abiding by. It's just sort of like, well, we're just going to run as fast as we can over here. And then like some people will figure out the laws.
Right.
see, Allison, I told you, the blurry bumblebee, it absolutely can destroy the fabric of our society. You said it wouldn't, but it can.
It all started with the bumblebee.
Well, so like I'll just like use the No Fakes Act, which I think by the time you listen to this should be in the Senate. This is basically a reaction to OpenAI and Scarlett Johansson. You know, the new voice is out with OpenAI. It's actually really impressive in like very cool ways. But obviously they made a voice that sounded a lot like Scarlett Johansson. She's really mad. She might sue them. A whole kerfuffle. That's a great time for politicians to act. Be like, a kerfuffle? Here's some stuff that I'm doing. So they had a discussion draft last year. They updated it. They have it this year. And now the goal is to give people a federal property right to approve the use of their voice, appearance, or likeness, and create liability to people who use their voice, appearance, or likeness without permission. Okay, that's like a lot. But again, SNL exists. Mm-hmm. Again, like Trump impersonators exist. I sometimes do a British accent. I don't know if I sound like a British person who's real. Like I think we're probably in for a moment where the pendulum swings way, way too far, and that might be fine. But we just need to like be alert for it, because that pendulum swing too far might be appropriate given how damaging deepfakes can be, especially for younger people, especially in these non-consensual, intimate ways. But it's also like, oh man, like you might just outlaw impersonation along the way, and we just like don't know the answer yet. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of that action happening, it seems like the company. So that's lightning round one. Lightning round two, sort of related to this. Last week, David, I'm just going to call David after this. He titled the episode "The End of Google as We Know It," and I was like, bro. You just mean search generally. He was like, yeah, I'm going on vacation. He changed it. So we changed it. But we're basically at a moment, and that was the real thesis of last week's episode, is that the entire like web and search market is changing. And we keyed that off of Reddit getting Google to pay it to index the site and then blocking everybody else. So there was some backlash to that, right? That's the closing of the open web. So suddenly the only way to search Reddit with a search engine is Google. Weird. That's a weird new outcome that we didn't have before. Microsoft has been blocked. Perplexity is blocked. Reddit CEO Steve Huffman talked to our own Alex Heath this week. He's like, everybody needs to pay me. He's like, Bing, Anthropic, Perplexity, we've all been after them. And then the big quote is, it's a real pain in the ass to block these companies. So he just wants money, and this looks like the future, right? We just want money if you want to build an AI-powered search engine to crawl our site. Similarly, Perplexity, which has gotten itself into a lot of trouble, especially showing paywalled content without paying anyone. They're just scraping sites, and a lot of trouble about scraping sites even though it's blocked, which they keep saying like, you don't know how the web works, and I'm always like, tell me how you think it works. And they won't say. But Perplexity has started cutting checks to publishers. Time, Der Spiegel, which is a big German publisher, and Fortune are in the first batch. I assume there will be more. I feel like I need to disclose OpenAI pays our company, Vox Media, for its Search GPT product. You can just put that on the list, right? OpenAI is paying The Atlantic and a bunch of other publishers as well. New York Times is suing OpenAI because it wants more money than it's presumably been offered. So like this thing that's like, you've got to pay, search engines have to pay to index our content on the open web, is not just like a blip. It's the thing that's happening. Like it is the change that is happening across the industry. Everybody wants to get paid, especially from the new breed of search engines, because everybody made the mistake with Google where they didn't ask for money, and now Google's like, we're doing AI anyway, and no one can turn Google off. Right next to that, I mentioned Circle to Search is everywhere. Desktop Chrome is getting something that looks a lot like Circle to Search. So you see Google's building AI search-ish experiences right into the browser. And then Chrome is also getting an AI product comparison mode, where if you have a bunch of products open in tabs, Chrome will just synthesize the tabs and build a comparison for you, which is legitimately very cool. And at least you get to have to load the web pages, which is like a good step.
I love that. Yeah.
But you see the web is just fully changing. Like whatever you think AI is doing to productivity or workers or whatever, right now at this moment, how we think about the web and in particular search on the web, the past is past. Like it's gone. It's in the rearview mirror. We might only be a little bit far away from it, but it's not coming back. Like we're just in a mode where you're going to sign up to use a search engine, and maybe it will have a different set of sources than the next search engine based on the deals they have made, which is going to be really weird.
It's just strikes me every time, Reddit comes up is that like we're racing to have, Google wants to answer your question without you clicking on anything. Chatbots want to answer your question, or like robots can answer your question. But then also like Reddit is incredibly valuable, and it's just people talking to people. Like that's the thing that, we want to get to in search now, where I'm like, I have a question about my plant or whatever. It's like, I don't want the AI generated answer. I don't want whatever blurb. Like I want to read an answer from a person. And it's just strange to me that that's at the center of this, like, what if you could just talk to robots? It's like, but the robots need to listen to a person who knows the answer.
Yeah. I mean, and Reddit is itself being polluted with AI generated text. So that's the next turn. And then on top of it, all the new information is a bunch of kids talking to TikTok.
Oh,
and and we found out this week that TikTok is one of the biggest customers of OpenAI because they're using all that for the recommendation algorithms and sorting and and you're like, oh, this is a weird little circle where there are going to be more silos on the internet than ever before because the open web did not make enough of the people who make the original content enough money. And so like no one wants to repeat that. So now it's like, you got to pay us. And like whether that actually comes back to individual Redditors who are contributing remains to be seen. But Reddit itself, Steve Huffman's like, yeah, I'm just going to block you. Like I got my money from Google and now everyone else is blocked unless they pay up. And I think he can do it because he just needs Google. Like Google's going to send Reddit a lot of traffic and that's fine. You can block Bing and be like, pay up or you're dead. And I think eventually they're all going to end up paying because if you have an AI search product that can't look at Reddit, I think a lot of people are like, well, where's the good stuff? And you're just gonna end up in a weird loop. We've been covering this a lot. Like over a year now, we covered sort of the end of the SEO industry and what that did to the web and all this stuff because we wanted to mark like this is what it looks like now. And I honestly did not expect it to feel as different as fast as it feels today. Like the end of the search era that we knew is I think just firmly here. And you can see even this week, it's just like here's 6 more headlines that are just like here's how it's changing.
I keep thinking about a friend who she was buying a new mattress and she's like, I just asked Claude. Yeah, Claude did it for me.
Claude?
I was like, yeah, which is the, which one? It's not Perplexity. It's Anthropic.
It's Anthropic.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And it's just like, my eyes get wider. I'm like, put the little mattressreview.com that it was scraping. I don't know. That's a whole minefield too.
No, my husband does it. My husband is like an avid ChatGPT as a search engine user before it even had this project. And like, he's been using Gemini and all the other stuff. And he'll be like, oh yeah, I just asked that. This is how I built some code for this. And this is how I because Google just doesn't give him the answers that he needs anymore. And so like, I've just been watching them just completely shift how they use the internet over the last year. And I'm just doing the same things that I have always done. And I just am like, this feels like getting left behind. Maybe I should try using it. Maybe I should try using it more in the ways that they do. But I just run into the same problem as you do, Allison, where I'm just like, I don't like the source that they pull from in these things. So I'm just like, I don't trust randoblogsite.com. Give me the other ones.
I started randoblogsite.com all by myself 10 years ago.
randoblogsite.com.
Respect your elders.
Hey, that was my first website. I've been using ChatGPT for Olympics trivia because I assume that it's like, what's this cable on the fencer? Is like, that answer has been the same for a long time.
Right.
And so you just I have ChatGPT mapped to the action button on my iPhone 15 Pro, and it works. Like it just delivers an answer to you, and you're like, I didn't even know that's right.
Right.
It's like close enough.
Yeah, and the stakes are
part
low.
It's like it's part of the scoring system. I hope that's true.
Yeah, you're not like judging the fencing. Like the judges are not using that.
Actually, we have a big feature we ran this week about AI being used to judge gymnastics. You should go read that. It's very good. I mentioned that because we are way over. Thank you. We got to wrap this up. Thank you for indulging in Chaos Vergecast to be an Allison. That was great.
It was fun.
That was fun. It was good times.
David, if you're listening, you're dead to me. You never come back. That's the way it goes. Like a goldfish over here. All right, that's it. That's Vergecast. That was really fun. Thank you for listening. Rock and roll.
And that's it for the Vergecast this week. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call at 866-VERGE11. The Vergecast is a production of the Verge and Vox Media Podcast Network. Our show is produced by Andrew Marino and Liam James. That's it. We'll see you next week.